Everybody, my name is Smita and I'm the CEO at KelpHR. So I have with me Amulya. She is the head of COE, Center of Excellence in KelpHR. What we do here is whatever new announcements come in, any new initiative in the space of PoSH, the Center of Excellence team is watching it and trying to simplify it for all across our clientele. So when the Supreme Court directive, the new directive came in, we thought it is a good idea to meet and greet and tell you all that take it seriously. We are not sure about how it will be implemented, but it is a good idea to be on the right side of the law. It's been 10 years, the law came in, and not very stringent audit process has been happening from the government, from any authorities. So maybe after 10 years, they will want to do it a little stringent. So Amulya, you want to set context of the Supreme Court judgment and from where
Sure.
it is? Yeah, I hand it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Smita. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining our AMA session. We're really hoping it'll be, thought-provoking and useful to you. As Smita said, it's important to set the context and understand why we are talking about this now. How come the Supreme Court is talking about this now? So it became a Supreme Court directive in the judgment of Aureliano Fernandes versus State of Goa. He's a professor in Goa University, and there was a case filed against him of sexual harassment. And the internal committee took up the case. It was handled in a certain manner. There were some lapses in the process. And so pursuant to that, there were appeals filed, and finally it went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, after looking at the manner in which the process was conducted by the internal committee of Goa University, felt that there is still a deep lack of understanding, a fundamental lack of understanding of what is the process that has to be followed and who is the process meant to serve, right? And what is, things like principles of natural justice, bias, even things like giving reasonable notice are things that have been pulled up in that case. Pursuant to that, and taking a view on the fact that it is now a decade since the act has come into force, and also, having heed to the fact that there was a news article that came out saying that over half of India's sports federations. So if you all must be aware of the recent news of the protests of the wrestlers that have been happening in Delhi, the sorry state of affairs with that. You must have been seeing our posts also about it on LinkedIn. It is indeed a sorry state of affairs that there is no credibility being given to these protests. And the fact that there is no institutional support within these sports federations in India. Over half of them don't have an internal committee. Many more of them don't have the requisite number of members or the requisite number of female members. And it is indeed something that has to be taken very seriously. So the Supreme Court came out with a set of directions, and this was part of the judgment. So this was, if you see, it is in paragraph 77 of the Supreme Court judgment. We will be happy to share a copy of the judgment with you, and you can refer to the paragraphs that I'm talking about. But as KelpHR, we went through the judgment, and we know that it's not really easy to read through a legal order. So we came out with a easy to follow set of steps, and that has actually been shared with all of you, I believe, and it's also on the KelpHR website. In terms of what is relevant for you as an organization, what do you need to do, right? So let's talk a little bit about that. So I will share my screen, and we can just go through those steps from the KelpHR website. And you can tell me if you have, we can start the AMA based on what do you understand, and have you been able to, follow some of these already, or are you already following them? And I think we also have received some questions. We will take them after we go through these directives.
While Amulya is pulling up the directives, couple of things or observation from the Supreme Court, the judgment that was passed is that did sexual harassment happen in that particular case? It may have happened. If you notice, this IC had terminated the person, the professor. It went to High Court, and High Court agreed with IC's decision and rejected his appeal. But it went to Supreme Court, and Supreme Court looked at the lapses by IC. It could be as simple as not giving enough time to the respondent to provide his side of story. So there are many a times organizations, we as an external member push us to close the case early, because it takes a lot of time. I understand all that, and I have always pushed them back saying, let's hear from the defendant, let's hear from the respondent. So it is important for us to drill this, that did sexual harassment happen in that case? Yes, IC had enough and more evidences of that. High Court stayed with that. So sexual harassment had happened, but there were few lapses, and that's why it was sent back now to reopen the case. So this is very important. And as an IC members that all of you are, HR heads that all of you are, you have to follow the process. Okay, so there are times when external members will push you back because they know the process much better than you. They'll push you back. Please allow them to share their insights. Okay, Amulya, go ahead.
Thank you, Smita. That is an extremely important point. As an employer, so let me just preface this by saying that the Supreme Court, of course, felt that the most serious lapse was in our government. As Smita was saying earlier, the fact that proper audits have not taken place, compliance checks are not happening. Even you all must be aware that when you file your annual report diligently year on year, you have to chase them even for an acknowledgement. So we know that there's hardly any clarity as to whether they are even keeping these on file, whether they are actually maintaining a proper record of the compliances that have been notified to the district offices. So I guess this is the time that the Supreme Court has chosen to inform and instruct the state governments and the union government to start its proper audit process. And what does that mean for you as companies? Let's find out. The one thing that really stood out to us was about the digital accessibility. Now, if you have a company website, and we will discuss what we need to do if you don't have a company website, but if you have a company website, you need to set out the details of the PoSH committee members, the internal committee's members, the contact details, as well as the copy of the PoSH policy and the procedure to file an online complaint. Now let's break this down, all right? So the company's internal committee members. As a company, you may have various branches, you may have different units where you have different internal committees as well. We have received a query as to whether only the central committee's members' details have to be put up as a notice. Just to understand, is there an issue in putting up the details branch-wise or unit-wise? What we would recommend is you don't have to update the website every time there is a change. Rather, you can put a link on the website to a separate document which you can update every time that there is a change in the internal committee constitution. That way, you don't have to go back to the HTML of the website and then change on a back end, right? And as for contact details, we are not asking you to put up the phone numbers. We understand there are privacy concerns around that. Even in terms of email addresses, some folks have shared that individual email addresses, they may feel a privacy concern. However, it may be a good idea to leave your work email on there, at least of the presiding officer. If not, is there a common PoSH ID that you are using? So you can put that common PoSH ID on the contact details. And a copy of the PoSH policy. This also we were asked, do we put the entire policy or do we put excerpts? as to we are, maintaining the PoSH policy. It was, these are the committee members and this is the company values and so on. So this also, you can provide a link to a separate document that is updated from time to time with a copy of the PoSH policy. As to the excerpts, I think we are also looking for clarity on some things. As you know, it is not very easy to get clarity sometimes from our lawmakers. But I feel if you are putting up a copy of the PoSH, unless there is a serious concern in terms of confidentiality, it is better to have the policy on the, at least a link to the complete policy on the website. And the detailed procedure to submit online complaints, you can put it up as a Google form. We feel that is the easiest way to set out the, help a person file a complaint directly through the website. And you realize you need this because the protection actually not only extends to the employees, but also to other people who interact with employees of your company, such as your vendors or your clients or prospective employees, your candidates. All of these people, if they have suffered something while interacting with employees of your company, they can look at your website and they can file a complaint online.
Amulya, I would want to share one particular case where we had a case of such nature, where there was a vendor and client relationship, and the vendor was one of our clients, and they wanted to make a complaint, but nowhere we could find the IC details. We had to actually write to the head of the organization to provide us the IC details. So the confidentiality is compromised when it goes via. So this is the logic of having it there, so that anybody can approach the IC if they have a concern. Yeah.
So any questions on the or any views to share or on the digital accessibility aspect? Thank you.
I think you complete the whole part and they might ask you a question.
Sure. Okay. I'll carry on then. So on the training, right? And this is another aspect that as organizations, it has been insisted since the beginning that you need to invest in the training which provides awareness to the employees, as well as capacity building and skilling of your internal committee members. So the same point is reiterated in this aspect. It says that invest time and other resources towards building the skill and capacity of your internal committee members. Empower them, allow them, give them the ability to perform their roles effectively, and make sure they understand the procedure. So, like Smita was saying, the case was such that the High Court upheld the finding of sexual harassment. And in that sense, it should have been a win for the complainants, right? There were 20 complainants in that case. 20 people had alleged that the professor had committed sexual harassment. And even then, it was not a win for the complainants, because finally, because of a procedural lapse in what the internal committee had done, now the internal committee is going to reopen the case, restart the process, and subject all of these persons to the same process all over again. So get it right the first time is what we are trying to say, right? Do you know what the procedure is? We understand that it is legal, it is quite difficult, and it is not actually part of your day job. It is not something that you automatically know just by coming into the position of internal committee member. And so go through the training process, give them the skills. And these are not the only skills that are required. Bias training, training in understanding body language, training in being able to express empathy, creating a safe space, creating that psychological safety for persons to come forward and share their concerns. Those are also trainings that have to be given to internal committee members. What about facilitating a conciliation? We keep talking about inquiry process, but actually many of our cases, the complainant opts for conciliation. And then, the other IC members look at the external member, they say, now what do we do? Right? Because it's not again, it is not something that is typically covered in the training programs. Maybe you have to work on it in an exclusive training program that simulates a conciliation process, that helps them understand what is the involvement of the IC, where does the involvement stop, how should the parties interact with each other. All of these, we can help you design, we can help you, carry out these training programs to capacitate and empower your ICs better. Right. As to the next point, we did mention training, skilling and capacity building for the IC members, but awareness and sensitization for employees is equally important. Your employees, first of all, need to be aware of what all can come under sexual harassment. Very often we have folks expressing concern that, am I overreacting? I'm confused. Maybe I did something. That's why, they are taking the liberty to act with me like this. Help them, to help them understand how to recognize or identify or call out a behavior as sexual harassment. And then to understand what their rights are in a situation of sexual harassment. And then finally, how to exercise those rights. What is redressal? Who is the IC, right? All of these things can be made aware to the employees through these awareness programs. A specific note has been made by the Supreme Court in this regard, that the women employees and women's groups have to be given focused awareness workshops. So if at KelpHR, we have always said that, we don't have to divide these sessions by gender, because we feel the people who may commit the harassment probably need more training than the people who may face the harassment. But the point is that we need to spend time helping people understand their rights and helping people feel empowered to respond in the correct manner as well. And sometimes that may not happen in a mixed session. And so we need to spend a little bit of time giving that exclusive and focused attention, talking about how to feel empowered, how to respond in those situations.
Amulya, just one concern there could be that when 2013 guidelines came in, it was only about employee awareness, and now there is a focus on women employee awareness. So there could be many organizations who have only concentrated on employee awareness. So
Correct.
is it going to impact them? So this is the kind of questions I'm getting. My take on this is that great, you'll have been doing employee awareness, continue to do that. But as Amulya mentioned, that a focused conversation with women employees will really help them in various. It will help them come out. Like, I'm just coming out of one of the case handling, and I realized that there's so much of fear still. And then that is when I have to think that we are in 2023 and women in corporates are yet not coming out with their fears, they're still insecure about workplaces. So it is very easy for us to sit in our corporate office and think that everything is hunky-dory. It is not. So yes, as focused attention at women awareness programs are important.
Yes, Smita. And it's not that we will be covering completely different material in these workshops, but the manner that the trainees or the participants will be addressed, and a little bit more here and there in terms of what you need to do as a woman in certain situations will be the additional focus that will be provided. So Reena has a
yes.
Yeah.
I think
Reena
also.
Yeah, hi Smita. Hi Amulya. So see, in our organization, we already have a e-learning program that is developed by KelpHR, right? And we make this mandatory and we track it that all employees cover it, right? We pull a report. It's hosted on our learning platform and we track it. We also do an awareness session for all new joiners. This is part of our orientation program. Now, beyond this, and whenever we have new IC members who join, we send them for external workshops to understand what is the responsibility of being an IC member. Now, beyond this, is there any mandate that we need to do more virtual sessions where it is run by an instructor where people can ask questions, or will these suffice?
So there is no clear yes or no answer to this, Reena. I think what you are doing is quite good. What this directive is talking about, women-focused programs, which till now, there was not much discussion. It was only employee awareness. But Supreme Court noticed that we should have women-focused programs, and they are asking organizations whether they are doing it. Till now, I mean, if you ask me, I think it's a great idea to do it, because as I told you, women still do not speak up in open forums. I think they find it very difficult. And maybe when it is an online program, again, if I have a concern, if I have an issue, do I speak up? That's a question. So is there a forum where they, it could be conducted by HR folks, it could be conducted by, a focus group discussion. It can be, the methodologies can be worked out. But do we have women-focused program is the question. And if you're as HR organization doing it for your team members, Reena, you could list that also. Is my recommendation from legal perspective, if you have anything to add there.
So, Smita, I do agree with your suggestion. I feel there is no specification as to who should be conducting these workshops. And there is actually no specification as to how frequently also these have to be conducted. So we have the directive is going to be checked in, like you said, in terms of have you been conducting. So you can say that maybe every other year you do it. I don't know, that may be up to you as an organization. My focus was on the word workshops, which is not the same as an e-learning program. A workshop implies a kind of active, interactive session. That was my reading of that usage, which is why I would say that it would be, when they say women focused awareness workshops, you have something that is not on the page, like in terms of a e-learning program. You were saying something, I think I cut you off.
No, Amulya, that's clear. I think I got my answer. I think one last question that I have is again for the IC members, the existing IC group. Is there a change? Earlier, we used to do a quarterly training program where we had somebody from whoever is at KELP, the representative from KELP, coming in and speaking to our IC members. But we've changed that. We've removed it quarterly because that was a metric that we had set internally. Is there a mandate around saying how frequently do we need to have these training sessions for IC?
Reena, there's no mandate. If you read it, they're saying that ICs should be worked on. We should work on the capacity and skill of IC members. Okay, they do not say that so many times it has to be done. But a well-trained IC. See, you go back to the case. What does the case say? That there were the procedure was not followed. So if an IC member is not trained, there could be lapses in the procedure, right? So a well-trained IC member is important.
Sure. Thank you for that clarification.
Amulya, if you had to add, please go on and add.
Sure. Thank you. So I just feel even in the review meetings that you have as IC members, which are not really case specific or, scheduled as a training program, you can have a discussion as to what may be a new development, as to what could be a best practice that has been, doing well in the industry among your, peers in the industry. And those are ways that you can kind of keep abreast of what are the ways that you can execute the functions of an IC member better. That I just wanted to add that.
Sure, thank you.
Hi, this is Dipti here. Just with regards to the point that you just made, okay, so this biannual meetings that we have at our organization, So generally, that is what is discussed, like any recent case that has happened, or some sort of enlightenment on what are the rules, etc. A kind of brushing up the rules, etc. So when
Yes.
we make minutes of those, and we mention that that this was done as part of the meeting, would that also come under IC members being trained or something? Though it may not be a formal training session, but would that come under it?
Dipti, this is the QRM that you mentioned, or half yearly meeting that we have.
Yeah.
Yes. So at KelpHR, we have designed our QRM in such a way that it is used as an upskilling program for IC. So actually we do it every quarter. Every quarter we come up with a topic which needs to be discussed, which we need to drill in some processes, which they have to, have clear in their mind, that how do you proceed if there is a complicated case that needs attention, we bring in that attention. So that's the idea of every QRM or half yearly meeting that we conduct. And that can be considered as IC upskilling program. But that's a very short program, Dipti, if I have to tell you. There in KelpHR, we have also designed something called as basic course, advanced course, and a theater-based program. In basic course, we have a 6 to 8 hour program where we do end to end. If somebody is getting inducted into IC, then what is it? What is the law all about? So we spend a lot of time doing that. Then advanced course is where we take all the tricky cases and we take the IC through it on all the processes right up till report writing. So we do that. And in theater-based sessions, we bring in the real actors who act as a victim, respondent, and hostile witnesses. So they get hands-on experience of resolving a particular case. So you can consider half-yearly program or quarterly program as an upskilling program, but is it end-to-end? No, it is not a very comprehensive one.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on, the next point in the list is about, as employers, what is the main directive? Your leadership has to make this part of the business agenda, or communicate the seriousness of keeping a safe working environment to the employees on a regular basis. This is important because once the leaders create a space for these kind of conversations, it becomes easier for employees to talk about it. I would just like to take a moment here and talk about, so last year, KelpHR conducted the PoSH Awards. It was the 3rd edition of the PoSH Awards. And as a part of that, there was a survey that was rolled out to the finalists of the PoSH Awards. And in one of those questions that we asked the participants about how comfortable are you having a conversation about sexual harassment at the workplace, right? And along with that, there was a question about how safe do you feel to report an incident of sexual harassment? And from our reading of the data, what we saw was that where people do not feel comfortable just talking about it as a topic, like have there been water cooler conversations about what the wrestlers protests are about? Have people been talking about other incidents where workplace sexual harassment has taken place? If that comfort level is not there, that you're able to make this an important subject of discussion, where leadership is not insisting that this is something that managers have to drill into their teams, have to make it as part of the core company values and part of the company culture, then it will not seem to the employees as if it is so important. Right? I feel Smita may be able to also phrase this a little better, but it is really important to communicate the seriousness of this.
See, basically what she's trying to say is that it is very easy to put it in a word that this is what our culture is. You go to any organizations, it's put up in the wall saying that we stand by transparency, we stand by respectful workplaces and all that. But if a leader is not able to exhibit those values, then it doesn't mean anything to anybody, right? And if a leader, while he's preaching something, is not, I won't say he, I would say she and they too, if they are not able to practice it, it's really sad, right? So I think that's what Amulya is wanting to point at, right, Amulya?
Yeah, Smita. And just in terms of talking about it during town halls, if it is, and this is something that again we did recommend in our survey, recommendations as well, that if you link it to the KRAs, if you make sure that creating that safety within teams, having a how just making a check of how the employees within teams are feeling, and if that is something that managers become more liable for, then that is something that can become a part of a transformative change within the teams and then within the larger organization as well.
Yeah, bringing it to their DNA, day in and day out.
Finally, and this is for the central and state representatives, but what is the implication for us? There are going to be probably surprise verifications done by the labor inspectors. So at your company, at your office locations, you may find yourself hosting a visit by a labor inspector. What do you need to do to be prepared? Just prepare a folder. So you have a physical folder handy that you can immediately show to the inspector. This folder should ideally contain the following documents. First of all, the PoSH policy. The PoSH policy, along with when it was introduced into the company, as well as containing all the relevant details of the IC members. Then copies of any posters that you've put up at different prominent locations in the organization, as well as just keeping a check on where they are actually put up, so you can show the inspector that when you are giving them a tour. Then having the updated list of the IC members and their contact details. Make sure you maintain these documents, with the company stamp or the seal or on the company letterhead. The details of the trainings conducted, what all trainings we just spoke about, the skilling workshops for your IC members, as well as the awareness and sensitization workshops for your employees. We recommend of the last 3 years, but there are, just have it for as long as you have the records. I think if you have been applying for a PoSH awards, these details will already be handy with you. Then, just start conducting the women's sessions and have the details of that, available as well. And the annual report filings that you have been doing, we recommend again for the last 3 years. But if you have the previous years handy, please make sure you have copies of that as well. This annual report, as you know, will contain details of the cases that have been handled by the internal committee. Again, the confidentiality need not be compromised. You just need to have the number of cases that were handled, whether they were disposed of within 90 days or after 90 days, and what was the outcome, right? So, Smita, would you like to talk about the audit as well?
Yeah, just that adding to what Amulya is saying, while, first and foremost, I think you should also train one person in every location to be able to have that conversation, right? So when an officer walks in and speaks at the reception, maybe you can train your security guard and your receptionist to also handle that conversation. But best is to have either an HR person or an IC person of that location, preferably an IC person who can handle that conversation, right? If the presiding officer is there, great, because the first question I think they will ask is about presiding officer, all right? So that is one. Please do not share any case files with them. As Amulya said, I'm reiterating, no case files. Case files will be in your lock and key as usual. Only the annual report. If you remember the annual report template, it is very clearly given. It doesn't talk about any case details. It only talks about number of cases. So please have that. Okay. Pictures of posters, because some posters could be in women's washroom or locker room or wherever. If depending on who is coming for this, you could also take a picture of it. And when you're taking them for a tour and you can't enter, so that can be, and you can take all the pictures. That if we have like 10 floors in the building, they wouldn't want to go everywhere, but you could put it there and say that this is on the first floor, this is on the second floor, reception area, all that, and keep it with you. Details of IC members, as I mentioned. And if you have multiple locations, like in Bombay, we have, for sake of example, one is in Worli and one is in Chembur, please have in each of these locations separate file. So if an officer walks in, don't say, oh, we don't have it, it is in the Worli office or it is in the Chembur office. That then is a little difficult situation to handle. So please have it in every office location of yours. I think if this is taken care of, we are in good size and shape, and you have nothing to worry about. I know that there are very varied questions. Amulya, you would want to take those questions. I think people who registered sent us few questions. I think Amulya's tried to answer most of them during her conversation, but we'll go one by one.
Sure, Smita. Yeah, so I think the first question, at least I'm reading off the list of the questions that came in before the session started. And if there are any more, I'm sure my colleague will let me know, Deepa. So the first question I saw was, is it okay not to show the contact details of the IC members and have a dedicated PoSH email ID? We understand the privacy concerns. In fact, one of the external members who works with KelpHR actually had a serious privacy violation because their email ID had been shared with the respondent. So I think we appreciate the concern that is coming here. And when we say contact details, if it is the working ID, if it is something that is being checked on a regular basis, then it is fine to share the PoSH email ID in our view. The second question was, is digital display of PoSH committee members in website necessary, even in a small organization? So I'm trying to understand the concern here. Even in a small organization, is it necessary? So like we said, it is not just for the employees of the organization, but for anyone who may be coming into, interacting with the people in your organization. And that's why your website is a portal also to people who don't work in your organization. I hope I've understood your concern, and I hope that answers your question. If you are present here and if the person who asked the question, please do confirm. Certain organizations don't have websites. Then how do they comply? So this was difficult for me also to respond to. What workaround I can think of is, if you would have an email, maybe you can have a link in your email signature that links to the details of your PoSH committee and the where you may have shared certain details of the internal committee. Maybe there can be one page that you link to, or one single document that has all the relevant excerpts and the details. Secondly, many companies, even if they don't have a website, they may have a social media presence. So that is another place where you can again have a link, or you can provide certain details of your which are required under this directive.
Just adding, if you have physical offices, please ensure that you have a poster put out there clearly. Okay, so it could be a shop, but it is there. So please put it out clearly. You must be having a shop and establishment certificate where you put it. So there only you ensure you have your PoSH poster put up.
Yeah, I hope people don't forget about the physical compliances now, because we are talking about the digital ones. Yes, please do remember, we are in a hybrid world now.
Yes.
By when do the details need to be displayed on the website? ASAP. We can work with you to figure out what are the details that need to go up, but please do it as soon as possible. Let me again emphasize the timelines that we are looking at. These directives came out in the middle of May. So that was 15th May 2023. And they have given the union and state government 8 weeks within which they have to report back on the status of the compliance. So I have heard that these surprise checks have already begun in some of the northern states. So I'm just stating that here, that the sooner you do it, the sooner you be compliant, it's better, right? So we don't have a by when, rather it is, haven't you done it already, right? Yeah. So we talked about multiple ICs and whether only central IC details can be displayed. So here, I think I did mention, please, if it's possible, I mention all the IC members' details. I don't understand what would be the concern there. You can have, like I said, a link to a document which you update on a regular basis. What if the company does not have a website? That has been addressed. Are the women's exclusive sessions mandatory? Right? I think this was also asked. How do we, this was also answered. What are the new amendments and how will it impact IC structure and working? So there are no amendments to the PoSH law. Rather, it is a doubling down on the compliance status, right? So what you have been doing, do it properly, do it well, and do it completely. That is what what we are hearing.
Yeah, no
Right,
check in
Smita?
the box anymore.
Yeah.
No check in the box. It has to be done efficiently. Processes have to be followed to the T. So that's what the directives are all about. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. The next question I see is, what will the impact on an organization be? Hopefully it means there will be more awareness and better sensitization, and we'll be better equipped to handle, but I don't see other impact as such. I mean, in terms of if the checks are done and you are not found to be compliant, you should have a good reason for why you have not been compliant so far, and you should have a timeline as to by when you will become compliant. Otherwise, there can be a penalty of minimum 50,000 rupees, and for any continued offense, which means that if you have not filed your annual report for consecutively 2 years, the fine will keep doubling. And also you could stand to lose your business license. I think that was it. I hope I'm not missing anything, Deepa. Just let me know. And if any new questions have come in, please let me know.
Yeah, hi. Just one question, small one. Is this mandatory to keep the policy, or maybe the posters in Hindi as well, or English should be fine?
Some states are mandating in the state languages, especially in Delhi and Noida. We got the request from, state-wise, there are minor changes across. So Harveen, depends on which state are you talking about. But I think if you have employees, vendors, clients who cannot read or write English, then I would recommend to do it in local language as well. It's a good practice. 2013 guidelines did not talk about language, but I know of many states, especially north of India, was mandating local language, and we should comply by it.
Okay, and what if, for example, okay, this I understood, but I mean, just to add to it, since we have office in Gurgaon, now this is a different state and Mumbai is a different state, right? So maybe Maharashtra government said it's fine to have it in English, but maybe, Gurgaon, we have a mandate to have it in English. So for that office, we probably need.
Yes, you need to. Because see, while the law is central, the implementation of it is state-wise, could be slightly different.
All right. And the second point which I see here right now is picture of posters put in your office location on your website. I see and or option, so it's not mandatory, right? And Amulya has already mentioned that if you do not want to have a page itself on the website, you can have a link there so that people can refer to the policy. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, to post pictures is not mandatory on the website, right?
So details of IC is mandatory.
Mhm.
Okay. What we are saying is posters, picture. This is the list of documents which you should keep it handy.
Yeah.
Okay. So when there is an inspection which comes up, Harveen, take the picture of various locations. If I mentioned that if you have multiple location or multiple floor, or if the poster is in the ladies' room, right? Take a picture, because you can't take the official inside the ladies' room. So take a picture of all these places where we have displayed the poster and keep it filed with you. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I mean, that I got it. That pictures is different. It's mentioned on the website. So that's what I was just referring to.
Yeah.
So policy will definitely keep.
Yeah.
But I was just referring to the posters picture on the website is mandatory.
No,
Yeah, no.
posters are not. Details of IC members are.
Sure.
The
Okay. Thank
poster,
you.
what is the require? Why poster? So that people know that there is an IC. People know that this is where I can contact people. If your policy consists of all that, and another thing is to tell people that sexual harassment is a criminal offense, right? This is the logic of having a poster, right? So if all that thing is there in your policy, then I think you don't have to really have it. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, there was a question on the chat, which I've tried to answer about the annual report filing. What if they have not been compliant? Start getting compliant now.
Please do it right away.
Yeah,
Now.
better late than never.
And do it for past years also. Go ahead and do it.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Shikha. Any other questions from the team? All right.
I can stop.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think it was a great audience, and I hope you all are taking back things. Yashwant mentioned, I don't know which Yashwant, but one of the Yashwant mentioned that they wanted to speak, but because there are multiple people who are logged in, they are not able to speak. So I asked him he could type in he, she, I don't know if it is who is logging in. So they could type the message to us. Thank you. Thank you, Reena. Thank you, Alia. Thank you, Ruchita. Are there any questions? I don't know if it has come to me privately. I'm just trying to see. Yashwant, I hope you've been able to. Reena says regular awareness sessions to all employees need more info. I think she got it. Okay. I think we have answered all the questions. Thank you.
Thank you all. You've been a great audience.
Thank you so much. We close it.